What's going on? Today is Monday, and as you guys know, every single week we come at you, we spit fire, we spit the truth, and nothing but the truth. Today I have a special guest, a friend of mine that I met in the synagogue. She's a good friend, and her name is Kara. That's it, right?
What's up? Hi, everybody.
What's up? So today we're going to talk about feminism, masculinity, men, women, and business, okay? So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. So if you don't mind, introduce yourself a little bit on our channel. So who are you, and how did you get so famous on TikTok and Instagram?
Okay. Getting famous on TikTok and Instagram, I guess, it happened very quickly overnight. I posted a video on International Women's Day of me doing pull-ups about a bunch of military men, and it was posted on International Women's Day, and it just swept through the globe. And a lot of women were really inspired by the strength that a woman can obtain and stepping into male-dominated spaces.
I love it. And how many followers did you gain just from that one video?
So on Instagram, I had 2,000 followers when I posted it. The video reached 80 million people, and I gained over 100,000 followers. And on TikTok, also 100,000 followers.
Wow. Okay, so that video exploded.
Yeah.
I love it. So let me ask you a question. So when that happened, what went in your mind over the next couple of days, as you were starting to see all that growth?
In terms of my platform?
Yeah, just yourself. Because when someone's like, I had a video that went viral too the other day, right? It was like 30 million plus views. And it was like messages, notifications, followers. It was crazy, right? So how did you feel when that happened to you?
I think that for anybody who has gone viral on a platform, you're going to feel a little weird when it first happens. Like, it's very weird for someone who's always been more intimate about their life and to have, oh my God, people know that I exist now and there's this video. But it was also incredibly special to know that I created something that empowered women all over the world and to instill a certain sense of courage inside of them, to see them share in their stories. There were women from all over the world sharing on their stories, just like inspired by the video.
So you are a feminist, basically.
Define a feminist.
Well, you tell me what a feminist is. In my opinion, a feminist is someone that believes that women can do exactly what men can do, and you kind of could elaborate more on what you believe feminism is to you and how you can, because everyone has different perspective of what feminism is, right? So what does it mean to you?
To me, feminism is involved in a conversation. So I'm also an art director, by the way. I work in advertising. And something that pushed me towards studying that was the way how over the years we have been influenced as women to believe certain things about ourselves and our abilities and the way that we take on the world. And a lot of that has to do with our roles and what are masculine roles and what are feminine roles. And when I say I believe in women's rights and I believe in women equality and I want to stand behind the feminist movement, I think that there is a push and pull for me personally, because I don't think we have a choice. I think that women, we live in a society, unfortunately, where women, their natural qualities that we have been told are innate to us, which is being a nurturing, being a homemaker, those are qualities that are not valued as much in a society, such as power, wealth, being dominant, because our society places such a high value on those qualities.
But if you really think about it, most men, this is what I feel like most men, when I talk to boys and men all the time, right? And most men are looking for a woman to be in that role where they're nurturing, they're supportive. They're not looking for a dominant woman for the most part. I mean, as a man, I'm single right now, and I don't want to be in a relationship with a woman is dominant, because I'm already as dominant as it can be. I'm an alpha male, right? I'm out there providing, I'm hunting, I have businesses. I want to go out there and preach and protect my family, right? I don't need another person in the house to have that same exact role. There's other roles that need to be taken care of, such as the nurturing role, the taking care of the family side, the supportive role, right? And I believe, this is my opinion, I believe most women would love to be with an alpha male. It's just the fact is there's a lot of men out there that are weak, right? They're weak. They're not masculine enough to give that woman that sense, of sense of security, sense of safety, sense of like, I can follow this man and know that this leader is going to get me to the places that I want to get to, right? So do you feel like women want to be more into that feminism role, kind of, support only women because they don't see men stepping up? Like, where do you see that coming from, your opinion?
The first thing I guess I want to ask you back is, when you say that men are too weak, what do you mean by that?
When I say most men are weak, so a lot of men are mentally and emotionally weak. They go through challenges in their life. They're not able to control themselves on an emotional level. They're not. And by the way, I was a weak man when I was younger because I was fragile. Because I grew up in foster care. I was, going through a traumatic life. So from 0 to 19, I wasn't mentally and emotionally strong. So if you would have met me at 19, you would have said, "This guy, this boy." Nobody would want to marry a 19-year-old boy that thought that way, right? So I had to develop myself and become that leader, so to say, to build myself up, build my confidence, build my emotional stability, and have the mental acuity to do what I needed to do. Most men go through challenges and they stay in that lower equilibrium, right underneath equilibrium, where they're not, in my opinion, providing. They're not protecting. They're kind of like sharing their weak side to the woman. And the woman's like, damn, you're supposed to be the man. Even though it's tough, I need you to be that light and shining armor to go out there and fight, to go out there and perform, to go out there and win for the family, no matter how you feel. Because women tend to more, they have more estrogen, in my opinion. Well, this is a fact biologically, but they tend to have a little bit more, they're more emotional than men, in my opinion. And they usually tend to do what is based off their feelings, right? And men can kind of like turn it on and off depending on the situation, but a lot of men don't. They kind of go into their feelings section and they start crying and bitching and moaning, and they sound like girls, and they go out there and perform. So for me, I think that when a woman sees a man, it's okay to be emotional. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's fine in society, and it's perfect in a relationship. But when you're not doing what you're supposed to do as a man, I feel like, this is what I feel, most men, they show that sucker side, and the woman tends to kind of like lose respect.
I feel like so much. So I'll start by saying that I've never been in a serious relationship. So I can't speak from a personal experience of things that make me feel comfortable in a relationship because I haven't met a man that makes me feel comfortable. The reason why I haven't been in a serious relationship, and this is what I'm like looking for, is that I feel like the way that in my eyes that I have just taken a step back to take a view on our society and the way that women are portrayed, I fear that I'll never meet a man who genuinely is going to value me for me. Like, I get really like fearful that a man is only going to want me for my beauty. And a lot of the time women are men. When you ask a man, like, what do they want in a woman? They want them to be beautiful. They want them to look good. They want them to cook. And I just feel like as a woman, like, I have so much more to offer the world. Like, I have thoughts and ideas and things that I really care about and I'm really passionate about. But when you live in a society where, men really love women, men really do love women. And you've seen how men will fight to protect women.
Yeah, but a lot of women play games. Think about that. I mean, I'm in a dating world, and a lot of girls, they be playing these dating games. That you message them, they message you. It's like a ping pong situation, and no one's really authentic. No one's real genuine, in my opinion. They don't open up. So the men are like, you know what? F it. We're gonna do what we do best. Is what men play the best games. If you think women play games, men can play the best fucking games. I mean, I've seen it.
Don't play games.
I mean, I don't play games.
Just be real.
I'm looking for a real serious, serious relationship, right? But for the past couple of months, I'm looking at the dating game. I'm like, damn, maybe it's Miami. I don't know, but I hear it's in New York. I hear it's in LA. I hear it's everywhere. And people are just playing games. They're not being real. They're not being authentic. They can't say straight up, listen, I like you or I don't like you. They're playing this wishy-washy shit. And 10 years ago, it was a little bit different, at least for me. Right? I was in a really serious relationship for 6.5 years. So for me, a little bit different. I just came out of a relationship. It's a little bit different. I'm like, damn, I'm single. You got to go out there, start talking to girls, talking to people. And the mindset of people in the dating world, people are dating just to date these days. And I think that's what happens. If women keep playing games and men keep playing games, that's what's going to end up happening. People don't get married till 35, 40 years old.
I think that it might be possible that a lot of men and women are confused on how to date.
Maybe.
And I have, friends like this, like, just to be completely straight up and honest, like, I've had conversations with friends where, like, we'll meet a guy and we'll have an amazing time. And sometimes at the end of the date, you have an option whether you're going to go home with the guy or not. And, between two friends, we've had both stories where we've either chosen to go home and to have, some intimacy and some fun experiences, or we've chosen to, like, say, like, not today, maybe another time, and in both situations been ghosted. So what, like, there's no way to be, like, right when it comes to, like, that world, because you think that in terms of, like, your intimacy.
I mean, that's what I mean by men being weak also. Think about that. When a man does that, which I feel like if you're a man and you ghost a woman, You're weak. If you don't have the balls to tell a girl.
Ghosting culture is really bad
Yeah,
right now.
if you don't have the balls to say, hey, listen, I liked our time together, but I don't think it's gonna be a good fit in a relationship setting. We could just stay friends. And I've taken girls on dates and I became friends with them. I took them one date. We saw that it wasn't a good fit. We became friends. Nothing wrong with that. But I believe if you're a man or a woman, sorry for my language, but if you're a man or a woman and you do not know how to communicate and say, hey, this was an awesome time. I don't think it's a good fit. I like how it went, but it's not going to continue forward in a serious, intimate relationship. If you don't have the balls to say that, in my opinion, that's what a weak man and a weak woman is.
I agree.
And most people do that. I've gotten ghosted. I'm like, what the fuck? I had a situation with a girl. Everything was amazing. Everything was great. My boy Matt knows. Everything was amazing. Perfect. Boom, gone. I'm like, what? At least say something. Hey, XYZ. I'm like, I wish I would have known XYZ. I'm like, oh, perfect. I think it was the X. The X came into the picture. That's it. Once the X gets involved, I'm done. Now, my other friend asked me the other day, he's like, what if that girl comes back to you today and says, oh, I'm sorry. Done. You showed me your character. That is a character flaw that a lot of people have. Ghosting, in my opinion, is a character flaw. And if you're in a dating world, you're doing that, my opinion, this is my opinion. You were a PUSSY. Not to me. It didn't hurt me. One day I was shocked, and then after that I was like, okay, perfect, back to normal. But I know that it affects a lot of people emotionally. It really can fuck some people up. Especially if they're weak, or they're hurt, or they had traumatic experiences. It can really fuck somebody up. You don't know what's going on with them. So just be 100% straightforward. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of I think it's disrespectful not to, when you go out with somebody, to owe them the respect of closing the chapter and saying, you're great, this isn't going to work out. I think that it's a lot more disrespectful to be silent, because we all have energy and we're investing into people, and that clarity of, okay, this chapter is closed, I'll find someone else. Like, there's nothing wrong with not being compatible and learning from dating, and it's all part of the journey and finding your partner. But going back to what you said about the dynamic between men and women in a relationship, and I think that it's an interesting time in history right now, because we are at a point where there's a lot of progression of women in education, and women are stepping into male-dominated spaces. Women are making, like, for my age, I think, like, when you haven't had kids, because it's different, the age gap, the wage gap between when a woman has kids, when you have a family, because women my age, I think, are making equal, if not more, than some men their age, and a lot of women are really stepping up their space. They want to chase their dreams. They want to be passionate. They want to feel success in their careers. And
why though? If you really think about it and dig deep, why does the woman want to create success in her career or anything like that?
I think the same reason a man does. Doesn't.
I disagree. I think most women would dream of having a man say, hey, babe, you go hustle, you grind. This is what the man should say to the woman, in my opinion. This is what every woman wants. You stay home, you take care of the family, right? You support me. I'm going to go out there and provide. And a real man would say this, because a lot of men are scared to go out there and be the only provider, because nowadays making $100,000 is very difficult to survive in certain cities, right? It's very difficult to survive on just one income sometimes when you're making 40, 50 grand. So I understand the woman has to go out there and work, but if the man can go out there and do what he needs to do and find a way to provide and do what he needs to make more income into the family, and he said, hey, babe, I want you to stay home, and I want you to relax, take care of the family, take care of me, cook for me, make sure the house is taken care of. So when I come home, it's not a fucking World War II again. I think a lot of women would say, you know what? That's the kind of man I would want to be with.
Okay, so very 1950s traditional.
I mean, if you think about it, biblically, that's how it was done. If you really think about traditional mindset, in my opinion, by the way, we're having a discussion, so I love this, right? Because I want to hear your perspective too. But why not? Why not? Listen, I grew up with my mom working. My mom was the one that brought money to the table. So I always saw my mom hustling, and my dad was the one that wasn't. He was, he was a doctor in a former USSR, came to America, couldn't pass his exam. Long story short, he never wanted to work for another man. He's like, I will never work for another man. Because his ego was getting beat because he couldn't actually be a doctor in America. So what ended up happening was that my mom was the breadwinner. And my mom wasn't making a lot of money. My mom and my dad collectively made $12,000 or $11,000 a year, which in today's income is nothing. If you think about it, they were literally making $11,000 to $12,000 a year in today's income. Today's income.
That's like 3 months of rent in Miami.
Listen, my parents, we grew up so poor. I never had my own room. I lived in the living room my entire life. So I did a story the other day about my view, and I was like, I'm so grateful every single day that I'm able to have the chance and opportunity to go out there and crush it, so I can live in a place and have my own bedroom. Just a bedroom. Forget about the view, forget about brick, forget about just having that luxury for me to have a bedroom. That was amazing to me. So I didn't grow up in that luxury lifestyle. We never went to a restaurant. Like a lot of people go to restaurants with their family. Family restaurant? I haven't been to a restaurant since I was till I was a teenager. That's not the life we lived, right? So my life was really chaotic, but what I realized is that my mom went out there and did what she needed to do, and I saw that, if you're with the wrong man, it's very scary to commit your soul, your life to a man that's not willing to go out there and provide. My dad was not the provider. No, I love him to death, but he just wasn't. So I understand in a woman's situation, it's very scary to want to depend on a man. But if the man really was able to step up, and by the way, if my mom and my dad were able to live in that, and coexist together, my mom supports my dad goes out there and pushes it. If my mom fed his ego and did what she needed to do, I think it would have been different. I don't know. I wasn't there. I was small, I was young, I was stupid. But I think that a lot of men are being defeated by the people they're with. The woman is not supporting her. So the woman is not supporting him. She's not feeding his ego and saying, go get him, tiger, slap him by the ass and go out there and attack. And the man himself is not able to get himself up there to go out there and crush it. So what do you think?
I'm laughing because I very much disagree.
I want to hear it.
I disagree a lot. Sharing your story, sharing that you came from very little and that your mom was the breadwinner, and you have shared, a story from your personal experience where you grew up with not a lot, and now you have your own career, you're very passionate about it, and you want to be that provider because you never saw that maybe in your dad. And
yeah, the reason why I wanted to be a provider because I never wanted to see I always said this, I would never, ever, ever put my wife in a situation where she has to work. If she wants to, God bless her. She can work all she wants. She wants to work 80 hours a week. God bless her. Will that ruin the marriage? I think so. If a woman's not home, and the man is not able to build a relationship. Because remember, when you work 80 hours a week, you come home. Are you fucking excited to see your husband? You're fucking tired as hell, right? So it's going to be very difficult to even raise the family. Who's going to watch your kids? A nanny's going to raise your kids? So for me, I always said, I'm going to make sure I make a shit ton of money so that my wife can have the choice. She wants to work 5 hours a week, 10 hours a week, 20 hours a week, have her career just in case I disappear, whatever. That's fine. But to make that she has to work or, she can't stay home, to me, that's crazy.
Yeah, I think that's going to depend a lot on the woman, because I think every woman is different. The way I personally see it, I don't think that it's a choice. I have to be ambitious in my career because of the power imbalance that it creates in a relationship when a man is the sole provider. What happens if a woman takes on passive roles to, provide for the family unit in a way that a mother would, as being the homemaker, being nurturing, taking on the roles at home, getting the kids ready, and the man is the one making all the money in this relationship, and they get into a situation later in life, it becomes abusive, it becomes toxic. The woman is relying on this man to provide, and she can't leave him because she doesn't have her own money. And I think that unfortunately, we just live in a society where we don't value the work that women do at home in the family unit. Because if I marry a man one day and I say I want to be ambitious, first of all, I'm going to unfortunately maybe have to think about not having kids if I really want to climb the ladder and be a
but think about
player.
that. What is sorry to interrupt you, but think about what you just said. How painful does it sound?
It is.
It's painful. Tell me not your whole entire life you definitely thought about having kids. You thought about it, and it's a battle. Have a career or have children. And which one do you think most people would say they wish they would have done in their 70s and 80s? Would you regret not having children, or would you say, you know what, I lived a great life, I have millions of dollars?
Irrespective of money that you're making, I agree. Family is most important. I think that when a woman or a man is 80 years old, they are going to look at the people around them as going to be the most important. But I think they're also are going to think about their purpose beyond the family home, how they're contributing to society.
Correct. 100%. But you can still contribute without having to
money.
sacrifice the family values and the family life. You can still have children and still contribute. There's things that you can do that can still contribute to the family unit. Remember, this is how I look at it. God, husband, wife, children. And if you have that order of alignment, usually there's less chaos in the household. It's when there's God, and then there's sometimes there's no God, and there's like man, and then something else. It's just a crazy alignment some people have in America. But if you have that alignment, I think that, in my opinion, I think there's there's a higher chance of success in that family when you have God, husband, wife, children. I give you an example. My mom and my dad used to always argue, right? And I used to know, I was smart. I know exactly what to ask my mom that she would say yes to, and exactly ask my dad what he would say yes to. Now, my dad said yes to like one thing maybe. My mom always said yes. So if I ever wanted anything, guess who I used to ask? My mom, right? Because my dad would always say no. So my mind was I knew exactly how to ask my mom, but she was like, oh, ask your dad. But I would manipulate the situation to get what I wanted as a child, 6, 7 years old. I remember doing this stuff,
You were
right?
in sales even back then.
I was selling my mom. Yeah, I was doing sales my entire life, right? So I remember that, but it created so much conflict because my dad would find out that my mom bought me something or did something, and he would get into fights, and I would see them fighting. And as a kid, I thought, oh my God, they're fighting because of me. So it would kill me, right? Long story short, I remembered if my mom and my dad were on the same team, my mom would have said, if your dad said yes and I said yes, we'll come to you and we'll let you know. Instead of playing these games and doing these behind my dad, if she just had the order of alignment, and I love her to death, but she was an amazing mom. It was not her fault, right? I'm just giving you a perspective. If there was a God, if there was a man, and there was a woman, and then there was children, when the children see mom and dad doing great together, the children are at peace. But when mom and dad are fighting and bickering, there's no unity, and there's no God in the household, it's very difficult for the children to come out peaceful. I got lucky. I'm okay. A little f***ed up here and there, but I got a little bit lucky. But most people don't. They end up having f***ed up situations in life, and they become emotionally damaged, in my opinion.
Yeah, I hear you. Again, I do believe in the space and the magic that a woman can create in the home.
I love that word, the word magic, because that is truly what a woman can do in a relationship. She can bring magic to the whole family.
But when you think about it, all of these duties and roles that a woman does do at home, if she's not doing it, you're paying somebody to do it. No, you're paying. If a woman has her career, you're paying for a nanny. You're paying for an Uber driver to take them to work. You're paying for a tutor. You're paying for,
At what cost, though? At what cost? Like, for example, I have a cleaning lady that comes every 2 weeks, okay? It's her and her partner. They come to clean my entire apartment. I don't want my wife or my girl to sit there and pound her ass to clean for 2 days. That's not what I want her to do. I'll make it easier for her, pay someone a couple $100 to clean the house. That's easy. I'm not saying that the woman has to stay home and clean. There's other responsibilities, though, if you really think about it. Like, a woman has so much more than just cooking and cleaning, in my opinion. The nurturing role is not just for the children, it's for the man as well. Every single man needs to hear his wife or his woman say, you are the best. You're number one. You're my warrior. You're a champion. I love you. I need you. I want you to go out there and crush it for me, for the children. Every man needs to hear that. No matter, we're little boys outside of our rock outside. We're little boys on the inside. Ask any guy. When a woman thinks that a man does not need those words of affirmation or that respect, that relationship is dead. Because no matter how successful I am, no matter how much success I create on a daily basis, the only person I give a fuck about that tells me, wow, you did amazing, is who? My fucking girl. When I come home after the gym, I don't give a shit what people say in the street. Oh, you got bigger, this and that. Like, lately I've been getting a little bit more ripped. I don't care what anyone says, but when I come home, my wife doesn't see that, or my girl doesn't see that, it destroys you. Because most men, they don't do it for themselves. They do it for the fucking woman. They operate for the woman. Think about how the world is run. It's run by you. You women out there are out there making us go crazy, right? Women make men go crazy. So go ahead. I want to hear your perspective on that.
I'm sorry, I really don't mean to be laughing.
No, you can laugh. By the way,
it's interesting because you have very strong
opinions
on this.
I love it.
And you have very strong opinions, and I also have very strong opinions.
And I want to hear it.
But I feel like I'm like struggling to like.
Why?
Properly, like, because it's not so straightforward. The message that I'm trying to speak about with you about what it's like to be a woman who. It's a battle. We want to be with our family and take on those nurturing roles, but we also want to believe that we can do more and have ambition behind the family home. And I'll take us back.
That's not feminism then.
Why not?
Because feminism is the complete opposite. Like, if you think of feminism, they usually don't want the family roles. They don't care. They just care about the career, the ambition. They don't really care about the family role. That's what I think.
I think that it's about equality, and it might be that some people are looking at their fight for feminism in the wrong way. I think that it's a choice on what women want to do, but what I'm trying to express is that women contribute 10 to 40% of the overall economic GDP each year, and that is never factored in, and it is unpaid labor that women do. And when I speak about the power dynamics of when a woman doesn't have money, because money is power in our society, and I won't sit here and say that being nurturing is going to make me money, being a homemaker is going to make me money, being someone who's kind and caring is not going to get me anywhere in society where I can make an impact. And we live in such a horrible world, honestly, that's run by men. And I can only hope and wonder of what the world would be like when we have a woman in leadership, in office, who can unite.
We have
reason
a lot of
fe-
countries are
and
run by women.
feeling.
A lot of countries have been run by women. Germany, I believe Italy is run by a woman. There's a lot of countries that are run by a woman. There's nothing wrong with a woman, in my opinion, being a leader. But I just think that there's different things that a man can do that a woman can't do. It's very simple. And there's a lot of things that, like, for example, no man in history, in the past or in the future, will ever be able to give birth. I don't give a shit. That's not gonna happen. I don't give a f- how you play with it. If a person that is born as a woman becomes a man, that is not a man giving birth. That is a woman giving birth biologically, right? That's how I look at it. So no matter how you play with it, a woman will always have the chance, the chance and the opportunity to be able to give birth. No man can ever do that. There are things that you girls go through that a man would never even come close to understanding with the monthly stuff. So we're completely different.
So then why do I feel like that beautiful thing that a woman can do to bring life into this world is truly like a blessing and a godly creation in its truest form? Why do I feel like that is just valued so much less? And this might be just my feelings, and I might be alone, I might be united with other people.
Why would
but
you feel?
compared to what it's like for a man to be a breadwinner, and like, why do I feel like that is not celebrated as much in society?
It is, but not in liberal societies. In liberal societies, the more left you start going towards the political spectrum, that's when they start talking about more career-focused stuff, money-focused stuff, and nothing that comes from the biblical sense of like family, value, tradition. They don't talk about that. So on the right side of the spectrum, where you have the traditional family values, they talk about respecting the woman, and the woman is the most important thing in the family role. Like, I'll give you an example. Who's the most important person in my life right now as a woman? I'm a single man. Who's the most important person you think?
Your mama.
My mama. The second I get married, who's the most important person in my life?
Your wife.
My wife. Because before there's a cleaving, there has to be a leaving. I have to leave my mom and I love my mom to death, and she knows this. The second I get married, my wife is number one. Then my mom is number two. That's because that's the role, the wife. Now, who's number one? The children or the wife?
That is not a question that has an answer.
Why not? Who's more important, the children or your wife?
I've never thought about that before. Have you?
Of course.
What's your answer?
The wife is number one. Because my children will be from 0 to 18, and 18, guess where they go? Bye-bye. They go somewhere else. They leave the nest. And I'm stuck with who? Hopefully in a positive way. Right? I'm living with my woman. Stuck is a bad word.
It's a bad word.
Yeah, it's a bad word. But I'm with my woman till the day I die, hopefully. So I'm with her not for 18 years, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, hopefully. So who's the number one person in the world in my life?
I think that, well, okay, so
See what I'm saying? So that, a lot of people, if you just understand there's an order of alignment. And in your situation, and this is where I saw my mom and my dad fuck up drastically. You know who was more important for my mom? By the way, but this is not a down to my mom. I love her. She's amazing. But what I saw was that we were more important than my dad. And I understand why. My dad was my dad. He was abusive. He was not the right husband. He wasn't the right man. He wasn't doing the right thing. I get that. But as a child, all I saw was my mom loving us and not really respecting the dad, right? So in those kind of dynamics, what happens to the children? They get fucked up emotionally. Now, like I said, I got saved somehow. I figured it out. I started doing a lot of work on myself for the past decade plus, right? But most men live in that kind of situation, and they grow up emotionally damaged. And then they try to go into the dating world, and they fuck it up, and they do the ghosting, and they disappear, and they don't talk with girls with respect, and they start treating them like shit, and they start becoming mentally and emotionally abusive because they're assholes, because that's all they fucking know, because they can't control themselves. And I think that it all stems from the family unit. The second you break the family unit, a massive destruction kicks in my opinion.
I think men really do want to support their women. And they really do place a priority on their wife in their relationship. And I almost just like wonder if sometimes what we think we might know about gender roles is truly what is real, and what is who we are, like at our core. Because could it be possible that women, we've Charles Darwin, right? He was the great scientist who essentially coined the roles of men and women. He essentially believed that women's biggest role was inside the family unit. But I almost wonder if maybe women just haven't had opportunities to like extend beyond that. And when you talk about a man serving his wife and being the financial breadwinner, and you also speak about ego, which I think we should get to in a little bit. Could it be possible that all a woman really wants in a relationship is mutual respect, and it doesn't, in mutual respect, come with the same amount of equality in your roles?
Yeah, but when I say God, husband, woman, children, I'm not saying that the woman is beneath the husband. I'm saying that's the alignment. At the end of the day, like for example, I'm a CEO of a company, right? There's a COO. Does that mean that the CEO is less than the CEO? No. But the CEO, hopefully, a smart CEO, will listen to his CEO. He will listen to his CFO. He will listen to his CTO and get their opinion. And then at the end of the day, he has to make the ultimate decision. What does he do? Right? As a CEO, my days are not in doing the nitty-gritty. My days in the strategy in the next 6, 12, 24 months. So where are we going to go? And the only way to find out where we're going to go, I need the supportive role to help me and assist me and give me that intuitiveness to say, you know what? Spend time on this, spend money on this, do this, do that, right? And that's what the woman's role can be. It's a supportive role, not a role where she's out there fucking hunting for food.
Okay, so I have a question for you.
Yes.
I think you've spoken a lot about the attainable things that you can do to support a woman in a relationship, the things that a man can actively like put action in doing. And it sounds like from this conversation, for you specifically, and in your opinion, it is in being the provider, essentially being the provider.
3 things: provide, preach, and protect. That's what a man should be doing. Providing means bring money to the table, make sure there's no financial situations going on in the house. Number 2 is to protect, right? Make sure there's security. Like, for example, there's some things when it comes to guns, don't f with me. Like, that's literally what it is. Like, don't f with my family. I will protect my family 100%. Number 3 is preaching. Do I go out there and study and learn and gain information so I can go and teach the family new techniques, new situations on different topics? Am I well educated, not just in school, but just information so I can bring it back to the family and get the family to the next level? Those are the 3 things a man should be doing.
So I think you need to add a 4th one.
What's the 4th?
How are you emotionally serving a woman?
Ooh, that's important. 100%.
You're saying, because it's like, you're saying that a man wants to take on his role of supporting his woman. How do you know that that is the way that a woman wants to be supported? Because women are emotional beings.
100%.
I think that also in our society, because a man's biggest thing is to provide. That's his number 1 thing. If a woman,
You're
and this
right.
is
it's not just provide. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me finish. Sorry.
No, sorry.
If a woman also provides, then doesn't that allow a man to step into his feminine energy and feminine qualities to tap into his emotional?
I see what you're saying, but he doesn't have to let her do that for him to tap into his feminine energy. A man will always be vulnerable emotionally when he feels what?
Safe.
Same thing as a woman. A woman will emotionally be vulnerable when she feels safe. And a lot of times what I've seen is that partners do not have the right vulnerability with each other because they don't trust each other, because The woman may have a blabbermouth, or she could be very spicy with her attitude, and the guy gets closed up and clowns up. It's like, why the hell would I want to open up? So financial security is one thing, right? Because anybody can go out there and make money and provide for the family. But if you don't emotionally provide safety for that individual to share their thoughts, share their feelings, and be vulnerable. And by the way, this was my fault in my previous relationships where I was kind of like this because I didn't want to get what? I didn't want to get hurt. And when you don't want to get hurt, guess what happens?
Back.
Well, you push back. If you can't get hurt, that means you cannot love. If you cannot get hurt, you put up a wall. Exactly. And when you put up a wall, there's no love.
It creates barrier.
Exactly. And there's no connection with that individual. There's no intimacy. Now you're living with a roommate. And that's the problem, right? So you have to be in a relationship where you talk about your healthy boundaries. Say, hey, listen, when it comes to X, Y, and Z, we don't do that. Like cursing, we don't accept that. You don't curse me, I don't curse you. That's a boundary. That's a boundary. If you cross that line, I have to step out.
What can a woman do to invite a man into their space where they can feel safe to be emotionally
That's a great
vulnerable?
question. All right.
I'm curious.
So what a woman can do to make a man feel safe and secure to feel vulnerable, number one, when a man shares their emotions, shares their vulnerability, okay, do not attack the man. Okay? A lot of times the woman may use that information and bring it up into fights or bring it up into disagreements. And go ahead.
That happens in all relationships, yeah.
I
They
understand.
Emotionally manipulate.
Correct. And that is when it gets really challenging because you just shared something very secretive to that individual or something that's vulnerable and they use that against them. That's number one. Number two, being dismissive. When a lot of times men share stuff and the woman dismiss the man. Oh, yeah. Or you're a tough guy, or something like they assume that the man is strong and tough, and they kind of like dismiss it. That's that dismissive action makes the man like, all right, well, I won't share it with you. Because for example, when I go through tough times, who do I want to share with usually? The person I love the most, right? So like I have close friends, close buddies of mine that I will share some information. Oh, I'm going through this, I'm going through that.
Good that you have support.
Oh, of course, yeah, and I'm vulnerable, and I talk about that information, and I know that it's not gonna leave that room, and they don't sit there and try to give me. They're not going to sit there and be dismissed. They pay attention. They understand. They listen. They have a conversation. So I think that if you're just able to just show the person that you care and just listen attentively, having empathy is extremely important. But some women, they kind of like get dismissive. They put it down, and they show lack of respect. And when you don't respect the man, he's like, dude, I don't want to tell you nothing. Or a lot of times a woman may say, she may act tough. And a lot of times to a guy like, oh, you want to act tough? All right, I'll show you who's tough. I'll be tough too. Now you have two idiots being tough with each other. So it's kind of like this riff-raff. So I think a healthy relationship, in my opinion, by the way, I know nothing about relationships. I'm single, by the way, right? I'm 32 years old, single. But I've had some failures in a lot of my relationships. And I learned that if you're able to, from a woman's perspective, from a man's perspective, from what a woman needs to do, if you just show them respect and love and care and make them feel safe that the information is not going to go anywhere but to that individual, they'll usually be more vulnerable with you. Most of the time.
Can I share a theory that I have on how a man can create space for a woman's emotional vulnerability and,
Sure.
and likewise for women's to men? I think that it's about space in your life. And I think that no matter whether you're a man or you're a woman, you walk your life individually in a sense, because in a sense you perceive the world and you live your own life. You have your past, you have your ambitions, and you have your goals. And I think that when it comes to a relationship, it takes a lot of work to retract yourself to create space for someone else. And it's like to be present with somebody almost is like taking space between somebody to let them come in. You have to like retract yourself a little bit. Say, okay, and that comes with like, you have to actively work to think about your partner and showing up for them in ways that maybe you might think that you are showing up for somebody in a way that you feel like you're showing up. But it's also important to think about ways that they want you and feel that you're showing up for them. Does that make sense?
A little bit.
Like there might be a difference in like, it's like love languages. It's like the way that I want to love you might not be how you want to be loved.
That's why it's important to communicate. And most people, they don't communicate. Most people, they just assume. They don't ask questions. Like, I've seen a lot of situations in my personal life where I want to sit down and just talk about shit, and some people, they don't want to talk about it. They want to assume, they want to live in that la la land. That's great. But if you learn how to communicate, whether it's in a business relationship, intimate relationship, if you just learn how to communicate
To
and just
listen.
listen, pay attention,
hard.
understand. Yeah, like I always say, how many sides are there to a coin? Not two, there's three, right? You got to always be in that edge and look at both sides of the spectrum and say, okay, let me understand your perspective. Like I always say this, I can always sit down with a communist and have a great conversation. I can sit with a communist. I can sit with a socialist. I can sit down with anybody that doesn't agree with what I believe in. I can listen, with what's going on in Israel, I can genuinely say that I can literally sit down with a Palestinian that is pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas, pro-whatever. I can genuinely say I can sit down with them. Now, will we agree? Absolutely not. But that's okay. We don't have to agree. But we can still come to terms and understand each other.
Exactly.
And I can see
Understand
things,
is the biggest thing.
correct. And I
Yep.
can see things from their perspective. Like I understand why the Palestinians are saying free Palestine, free. I understand it. It doesn't mean I agree with that philosophy. I understand.
Yeah,
that's the only thing that's missing in most communication situations. They do not understand each other.
There's a lot of power in that, in saying, I might not agree with you, but I understand where you come from.
And why you come from
And
that
why
specific
you
situation.
feel that way.
Correct. And if you can
And-
do that, you're a well-rounded
Yeah.
individual. That's what emotional intelligence is about. It's about having someone say things that you do not agree with and still have the emotional maturity to say, you know what, let me say why did you say that? That's actually interesting. You actually believe that X, Y, and Z is the case? Why? Why did you believe? Let me see it from your perspective. And you get up mentally and you say, oh, okay, I understand this
You
perspective.
flip the coin.
And you have to, because that's the only way to, listen, you have to question your own beliefs. If you don't question your own beliefs, you're always stuck in that same paradigm. So how do you change your life? You need to change your paradigm. If you need to change your paradigm, what do you need to do? You need to what? Change the way you think.
Change your perspective.
Change your
Yeah.
perspective. Get a different perspective and challenge your own beliefs. Just because you believe it to be true doesn't mean it's true. Maybe it's false. Maybe you believe the false narrative the whole time. Who knows?
So now that you've just said that,
That's why I had you come here, because I wanted to hear a feminist perspective.
now that you've said that about having conversation and seeing things from different sides, would you ever be compatible with someone like me and in a relationship?
A person that believes a feminist, like a feminist, it'll be very difficult, because I'll tell you why. Because in my mind, right? I understand why a feminist believes the way a feminist believes. I get it. It just makes so much sense. In theory, it makes sense. In practicality, it doesn't. That's the problem. It's like communism. Communism sounds so amazing. It's so pure. It's so like, wow, everyone is equal. Everyone gets equal shares. It's so amazing. But it lacks one thing. It lacks practicality. Because at the end, because when you have communism, you kill the ambition to be productive. An ambitious man like myself, why would he want to go out there and grind harder than a regular person? Like, there's no incentive. The free enterprise system, the capitalist system, there's one word. It's called competition. It's called incentive. So a guy like me has a incentive, has a reason to say, you know what? I'm not going to wake up at 8 o'clock this morning. I'm going to wake up at 7. I'm going to wake up at 6 before anybody wakes up and go out there and grind and hustle and see if I have a better strategy than my competition. And that's how you have better products, better services, and all that kind of stuff. So the practicality of capitalism works. The practicality of having a man do what a man needs to do and a woman needs to do what a woman needs to do, that has been working for many centuries. It's just been recently that this feminism stuff started coming out. And as you can see, do you look at it this way? Do you like the way children are being raised today? If the answer is yes, then believe in that. If the answer is no, then we need to actually look at what we've been changing. And there's a few things that we changed. Number one, we took out God out of conversation. We started focusing on letting people mutilate their bodies at a very young age when they have no freaking understanding of what they're even doing to themselves, right? There's a lot of things that have been going on. The educational system, in my opinion, is not making kids smarter. We in America are in like number 30-something in education. Like, it's just a lot of things have changed in the past 50, 60 years, and the divorce rate is not lower. It's freaking higher. And now husband and wives don't want to be husband and wives. People are scared to be married. I'm 32 years old. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
27.
27. 27, you're supposed to have 2, 3, 4 kids usually. I'm supposed to have kids. But we have been conditioned by society that it's okay to wait till 30, 40 years old. And at the end of the day, like, is it harder for you as you gain age and as you gain a couple of years? It's harder and harder because the body is not able to produce.
It's not that we've been conditioned. It's because women are getting educated.
I don't think because women have been educated for years. They may not have been educated in certain countries. But America, I mean, in other places, in traditional mindset, we don't think that women shouldn't be educated. Women should always be educated. Why not? Some women are smarter than men. It's fact.
Yeah, it goes back to the that women want to have careers, and when you're a woman, unfortunately, you're kind of at a battle between your career and raising kids.
Like I said, I understand the perspective.
Yes, I know.
I respect the
repeating
perspective.
myself a little bit.
No, it's okay.
But it's also interesting to me because, again, you speak a lot about what drives you. And I will say, I think that men have done an incredible job at creating systems and being practical and setting up society in a way that just runs. I don't know if I don't know. I don't know.
I have a question,
I don't know if
you asked the question, would I be able to be with a feminist? Okay? Think about that. Most women, would they be able to be with a man that's not like me, that's not alpha, that's not willing to provide and protect? The answer is probably what?
So
think about it.
Yes. So I think that two things. One, I think that if women want to be, as you say, dominant and alpha, as you say, I think, and a lot of time when you ask a woman who is, successfully driven forward, they have careers, they often say that they need somebody who matches them, if not more. And I think that if women want to be breadwinners, they have to be also willing to have a man who makes less money than them. And I don't think a lot of women are willing to accept that.
So there you go. So let's ask this question. Just yes or no. Would you want a man that's not able to provide money on the table? Be honest, just yes or no. Don't make it any complicated.
If I can provide money, why would that be an important
So would you
thing
be
to me?
okay with, I'm the husband, as an example, I'm staying home, I'm chilling, you go provide. I'll cook, I'll do all the stuff. Would you be okay with that? Be honest. It's a yes or no question.
I would love to have, and this is again my personal.
Yeah, it's your personal perspective. Would you love that?
I would love to have a man who supports me in my career.
I support you.
And who would be willing to take a step back and say,
I support you
and
100%.
And to say for, okay, maybe this year you are doing amazing in your career. I will take a step back to get the kids ready for school, to cook.
That's fine. You make money, I don't make money. Are you okay with that?
Yeah. Why?
Okay.
Because if we
that's okay. If that's what you want. It's great. Number two.
Because the most important qualities to me in a man, if I can provide for myself,
yes,
I look for a man who is assertive and can make decisions.
Well, look what you just said. You said, oh, if I can provide for myself, right? Think about the feminist movement. It's all about what? It's all about the woman. It's all about me. It's all about me. But what does a man think? It's not about me. A man is always thinking about women and children. A man is always thinking about his legacy, his family. It's always about protecting, providing. Think about it. Protect is about what? You guys. Providing is for who? Not for men. As a matter of fact, most men don't give a shit about buying shit for themselves. What they really care about is what? Providing. If you see a lot of guys buying all these nice shit, it's only for one fucking reason, really think about it. To have other people see that they're making it. To be honest, if you ask every really truly guy, why'd you buy the Lambo? Why'd you buy the nice watch? At the end of the day, so someone else can see it. It's not for themselves. They can give two squirts of piss about that shit. For the most part, it's because they want to what? Provide. They want to provide. They want to protect. They want to preach. Preaching is not for me. We don't educate ourselves for ourselves. Not for our own egotistical way. We're preaching for who? To educate the wife, the children. You understand what I'm saying? So if you think about the feminist movement, in my opinion, that's what I see. This might be, some people may disagree with that, but it's all about me, about my career, my vision, my ambition, where I'm going. While the traditional value is about the man saying, it's about my wife, it's about my children, it's about everyone excluding myself. I come last, my wife and children come first. And that mentality, and that's what we call servant leadership, because you cannot be a leader unless you're thinking about who? Other people first.
But again, it's like that's your perspective of what you are serving your woman for. And
that's what drives men. You take that aspect out of men, there is no man. It becomes a fucking animal.
But you also speak about how a man finds a lot of value in doing that.
For one thing
but
only.
Why does a man not find value in being the nurturing?
Because
is it possible for a man to be nurturing? Is it possible for a man to be emotionally intelligent?
Yes, of course, but there's nothing.
Why don't I find value in that? Why are they not empowered by tapping into those qualities?
Who's not empowered?
Men. Empowered by
because it's not in our blood. It's not in our blood.
Is it not in your blood, or is that just
Yeah, it's not
Is
in
that
our nature. It's not.
Is that not in your blood, or is that just
It's
what
not
you
okay.
what
when
you've been raised with and
no,
what
men
we've been
are.
told?
Let me ask you a question. Do you have more testosterone? Or do I have more testosterone? Biologically.
You.
Exactly. What does testosterone do? It creates ambition. It creates anger. It creates this buildup. So as a man, it's very difficult. We're not as patient as women are. Women can multitask.
To work on that, it's a quality.
But why work? Okay, but why work on things that are not part of your nature when you could just focus on things that you're amazing at? For example, do you focus on your strengths or do you focus on your weaknesses?
I mean, right now I'm working on everything.
Well, there's only one thing you should focus on. Focus on your strengths.
I think you should focus on
I
your
suck.
weaknesses.
No, you will never. I'll give you an example. Your level. Let's say from 1 to 10. Let's say you're a 2 at draw. I'm a -1 on drawing. I cannot draw for shit. Okay? Why would I take my time and try to improve my drawing to maybe get it to a 3 or maybe get it to a 4 when I can focus on my strengths, which is communication as an example, or sales, and I'm a 5 or a 6 and get it to a 7, 8, or a 9? You focus on your strengths. You can, of course, you try to fix your weaknesses as much as possible, but you focus 100% what you're really good at. And that's why men need to focus on providing, protecting, and preaching, because that's what they're really good at, and they're designed to do that by the ultimate Hashem, by ultimate God. And women are designed to nurture, provide in a different sense. And I think if man and woman come together and they do this and become one unit, no one's breaking them. The divorce rates goes down once the family unit is built together. We have a lot of shit going on with children. Children are up these days, not because of oldest education. It's because the mom and the dad are not in alignment with godly values, godly principles, and that affects the children. I was a victim of that as a kid. I saw that happen. No matter how much religion was in the house, there was no God, there was no mom and dad on the same page, and that fucked up the children. Like I said, I got saved, I got lucky. But at the end of the day, I understand why you would feel that way, because I promise you, somewhere in your life, as a feminist, as other feminist women, there was a challenge. There was a tough time where it made you become really scared to say, how the fuck can I submit to a man? How can I give my love and my heart to this man? Because I don't know what he's going to do with that. Because some men are disgusting and they're just mentally, emotionally weak where they're not able to take on that responsibility. And that is a challenge that has risen in the past 20, 30, 40 years, where I understand why being a feminist makes sense. Why depend on a man when you can depend on yourself? And that makes sense. But if you really want the true answer, the true form of having a successful life with a husband and a woman, or a man and a woman, in my opinion, when you have those order of alignments and you follow that process, the traditional values, it just works out better for the whole unit, for the husband, for the wife, for the family, for God, and just works out for the community as a whole. And like I said, we can disagree, and that's why we're still friends. Like I said, I have friends that are communists. Fucking communists. I'm a capitalist. I'm like pro fucking making money. But I can sit down with a communist and have a conversation with them because I understand where it comes from. But maybe we'll do this another time. But if you guys have not subscribed to the channel yet, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. We'll see you guys in the next video. And if you love this kind of shit, let me know. Maybe we'll have a communist on this shit next time. We spit fire, we spit the truth, and nothing but the truth. I appreciate you guys.
And thanks for having me.
Of course.